Hey, I'm Ricky Kalmon, and welcome to another episode of Amplify Your Mindset. Thank you for listening. And for the followers, I really do appreciate your support. And please leave a review and forward this to other people. You can also check out my new book, Leverage Your Mindset, available online from Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target, and Walmart online. And please also check out my mobile app on mindfulness and meditation, available on both Android and iPhone. Just go to your app store and search the title, Ricky Kalmon. Enough about me. Let's talk about my guest, Sam Silverstein. Great guy. He has been a great friend. He's been on past episodes. I had to have him back. He said, you gotta have me. I'm just kidding. Now he said, I got a new book. And I said, I want to put you on the podcast. I'm excited about talking about his new book. But Sam is, when I say an expert, he is beyond an expert when it comes to accountability. Sam, welcome to the program.
Hey, Ricky, it's great to be here. Man, you are all over the place. Your apps, your podcasts, it's like I cannot escape you.
That's true. But I want to, I said something about you a second. Thank you for the compliment, but I said something about you and I want to make sure that I cannot overemphasize this. When it comes to content and accountability, you are beyond an expert. You are a wealth of information. You are a massive hard drive that never ends with information that you're constantly updating. And you've been a great inspiration to me and a great friend. And I'm saying this live to everybody because I truly mean it. You are a really priceless. So thank you so much for your friendship and your direction, because, you know, people like us, we're in the information business, and people ask us all the time, what motivates us? What keeps us going? And I will say right now that it's people like you that I look up to, that has inspired me to be a better version of myself. So here I am. I'm cheerleading.
I wasn't expecting that today, Ricky, but thank you very much.
This is the second time we rehearsed it. What are you talking about? No.
Yeah.
No, but anyway, how are you, Sam?
I'm great. I mean, I've been super busy. You know, these have been challenging times for everybody, myself included. Don't get me wrong. You know, you have your up days, your down days, dealing with challenges. But my focus really has been on content during this time period. I mean, heavily. And so I just try to stay focused on what my purpose is and stay on mission. And I find that that's helped me deal with the challenges that we're all facing right now.
Right. I mean, you and I both are alike. We travel around the world. We get paid to show up and deliver our content to live events, literally, you know, all over the world. The pivot for us was, just literally changing what we were doing to be able to serve our clients in a new platform and really show clients that this is just as valuable. Virtual programs, virtual training and content is just as valuable as live. We will go back to live. You know, we'll start engaging people, live sessions, but I don't think this is going to go away. I'm very biased towards that. I think that we're able to serve clients in different ways, meaning all over the world without the travel, but also there's something about this lens. And there's something about when I look at you right now and you're on the other side of this and I've got your attention versus you being in an audience of 5,000 people and you and I are speaking and, our eyes are going all over the place. We're working the stage. I'm working the camera right now. And you and I both know that this is a very powerful tool.
Well, exactly. And so a lot of people are talking about, well, is it going to go back to normal? And yeah, it's going to go back to normal, but normal is going to be different. I was speaking with a client in the Middle East just a couple of weeks ago, and he said to me, normally, he says, these times have proven that we can bring you in to work with our team from around the world, and you don't actually have to get on a plane and come here. Because for them to bring me over there, it's a very expensive proposition just for travel, hotel, and all that, much less the development consulting fees that they would make the investment in. And so they have the ability to reach out to me, and this leader recognizes that. And so whether you're in Maine or California or Texas or whether you're in Stuttgart or whether you're in Brisbane, it doesn't. We have proven that the world can come much closer more rapidly, and we have the ability to connect with each other, to learn from each other, and to grow together. And so my hope is that when you and I are back on platforms sharing with audiences live, that not only are we doing that, but we're still doing this. And so we have the best of all worlds.
Right. Absolutely. And I mean, I'm also mentioned something about content. You're the content king. How many books have you written?
Um, well, I think let's just go with 10. M- we had one that just came out 2 weeks ago. We have another one coming out in 9 weeks. And as of today was my official kickoff for writing my book it'll be released in September, and that'll be number 11.
Okay,
So
I thought you were releasing one a year. Now you're releasing at least two a year.
no, I like to release one a year, but you know what? This was a bountiful year. We had a lot of time on our hands, and so literally on March 6th, based on my commitment with my publisher, our publisher, you same publisher, I sent my manuscript off on March 6th for the book that was just released 2 weeks ago, week and a half ago, and then on literally on March 28th, I called him up. I said, I've got something burning inside of me that is needed right now based on what we're facing right now. And I shared it with him, and he said, that's phenomenal. Let's go with it. And so on April 1st, I started writing that book and sent him the manuscript on June 1st for that book. So that was a kind of a bonus book this year that I wouldn't have written otherwise. But with the pandemic and not traveling, all of a sudden I had a lot more time on my hands. And so I spent it on developing content.
And we're talking about the accountability circle.
The accountability circle is the one that was sent to him on March 6th that was released.
Show me that book. Yeah.
That's the book that was released. And the one that's coming out in about 6 weeks, but it is kind of available for pre-order, is this one.
Yeah, absolutely. You notice how I said the word pivot earlier, kind of like was setting it up.
Well, that's why yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I appreciate that. I should hire you to promote me because you do an excellent job, Ricky.
Vice versa, my friend. Vice versa. You and I we're asked a lot of the same questions every single day. As okay, how do we pivot? How do we hold ourselves more accountable? We can't answer these questions all in one sitting. How do you describe what you do in just a few seconds? Because I think you and I are both trained not just to give a one answer, like, oh, I'm a motivational speaker. My philosophy is always intrigue people with what you do. Speak about what you do with great passion and get them to ask you more about what they do. But you can't just answer what we do in just one little question or even one sitting. And so let me ask you this, because of who you are, because your content and you're so well known, and because of your books read around the world, I'm sure that people ask you questions like, what do I do? How do I pivot? How do I get through this challenge? Even just talking to friends or people that you've kind of, reacquainted with, or even when you talk to clients, what's the one question? Let me throw it out there. I'll get to the question. What's the question that you think people are going to ask you the most or asking you most now?
We created an online course that we take people through this process. That's what Pivot came from. It came from that's why it's the title of the book. And actually that whole process starts with the accountability circle. One question, the question they ask me or the question that I ask them?
No, I think it's the question people ask you these days.
People want to know, people come to me with two questions, and one of them is wrong thinking. They say, how can I be more accountable? And then they say, how can I hold my people accountable?
Okay, let's go to the first one. Let's go to the first one. First question.
Okay. How can I be more accountable?
Yeah.
Ricky, we don't have time for that here today. Accountability is keeping your commitments to people. Accountability is keeping your commitments to people. The challenge we have is that most people don't realize that there's a difference between tactical commitments and relational commitments. And so all they think about are the tactical commitments. tactical commitments, and I'll get the report done by 3. A tactical commitment was I'll be here at a certain time for this interview. That's a tactical commitment. I'll paint your house next week. That's a tactical commitment. In the business world, or in our own in the business world, if you're not keeping your tactical commitments, which basically is your job description is a list of tactical commitments, then you should be fired. Why should someone continue to pay you when you're not doing your job? Tactical commitments connect to productivity, not to accountability. Productivity is important. That's all good. Accountability is about keeping your relational commitments to people. For instance, a commitment to tell the truth, a commitment to stand by you when all hell breaks loose, a commitment to it's all of us, a commitment to live the values, a commitment to a good name, a good reputation. These types of commitments, which are not spoken, but which are made and kept by accountable leaders, build relationships with their people, and that's what inspires accountability in the people. You don't hold people accountable. You are accountable as a leader, and you help them be accountable. So it's a different way of thinking. Many times leaders see accountability as a way of manipulating their people to do more, and that's wrong. Accountability starts with us. We are accountable to someone first. We inspire them to be accountable, to be their best in return. And there's a whole process of reprogramming, and you deal with this. It's accountability. I always say accountability is not a way of doing. Accountability is a way of thinking. You're all about mindset and thinking. And so I know that you get that. How we see people will impact how we treat them. And so accountability flows from the way we think about people, the way we think about our relational commitments, what we believe. It's a very deep subject, but here's the cool thing. When people grasp it and when they start to live it, both individually in their personal lives or organizationally, build it into their culture, things change, and they change rapidly. And so what I've been teaching people, both in my books and in my pivot courses, is not about changing what you do. If you just change what you do, you will always go back to what you've done. It's about changing how and what you think, because only when we change what we think do we make a permanent change in what we do. So there's a long answer to a very simple question.
No, well, first of all, I wish you were a little more enthusiastic. I think
I would try and get up for these things, Ricky.
You are very enthusiastic. This is what you live, breathe, and sleep. But it's interesting. I had a call with several CEOs yesterday, and one of them said to me, Ricky, it's very difficult to get people to change. And then we continued this conversation, and then later in the call, he goes, well, what would you do? How would you implement a program? And my first response is, well, do you want me to be blunt? Do you want me to sugarcoat it? Do you want a warm blanket? He wants me to be blunt. Okay, well, then we need to stop saying it's going to be hard to change people. It starts with you. And he was caught off guard a little bit there. I said, well, I'm just telling you, if you say something like that, it's going to be hard. Unconsciously, we talk about programming. We've convinced ourselves that it's going to be hard. So unconsciously, we are making decisions based on making sure that that is true. It's going to be hard. And even when things are difficult, you're going to fulfill it and affirm it by saying it's hard. And accountability itself, like you said it is a way of thinking, a living, it's a programming.
Exactly. And so you nailed it. And here's the thing that leader, I wasn't privy to the conversation, so I don't know the specifics, but I'm going to diagnose the situation without having seen the patient, but looking at your notes from the exam. Magandhi said, be the change you want to see in the world. We've all heard that before. It is so true, though. Here's the thing. These leaders that want to change in their people, they don't realize that any change in an organization has got to, or transformation, as I like to put it. You want to transform your organization? Really? Okay. Then you as a leader have to transform. If you don't transform, the organization won't transform. And if the leader had it nailed, then the organization would have it nailed. If there's a problem anywhere in the organization, it's going to flow back up to something with that leader. I did a program once and not too long ago, and I was speaking right after lunch, and I was sitting in the audience in the morning, just sort of taking in what was going on in the room. And in late morning, there was a panel on there on the platform talking about problems in ethics and compliance. And I work with a lot of ethics and compliance officers, and they said, the problem isn't the leadership. They get it. It's middle management. It's the mid level. That's where the problem exists. And when I spoke, I said, with all due respect, the problem is not with middle management. If something's not going right with middle management, there's a leadership problem that caused that. It always goes back up to the leader.
Right.
And so, yes, if we want to change, we want something to change in our relationships, it has to start with us. If we want something to change in our organization, it has to start with us. And it starts with how we think, not how we do.
Right. Absolutely. I've always been admired by corporate cultures that have leadership that lead people to be better versions of their leaders versus follow me, I will lead you. I'm going to lead you into your success because everybody's replaceable. And at the same time, though, I think a great leader, and correct me if I'm wrong, a great leader tries to make a great team that strives to be better versions of the leader itself.
Well, the best the organizations that I invest in, it's kind of interesting. Working with a lot of organizations, I get to see what's going on. I see where great leadership is. If I'm going to make a personal investment in a company, I want to invest in a company that is founded on great leadership and that's built an amazing culture. Mm-hmm. The organizations that inspire me the most are the ones where a spouse says to me, my husband is a better person for having worked here. Now, when you hear that, or my wife, she's a better mother for having worked here. Mm-hmm. When you hear those sorts of things, like, holy cow, there's something going on there. Now,
you're right.
Juxtapose that, Ricky, to the leader that says, this isn't personal, this is business. And I'm like, wait a second. Any interaction between two human beings is personal, even if the interaction is totally around a business discussion. And so the leader that doesn't get that it is all personal is they have not come to the realization of understanding what their relational commitments are to their people. And they don't value their people to the degree that they could value their people, and they're not going to get the results that they could be getting from those people.
It's that famous word, results. Results. Business, it's a for-profit business. It's about results. It's about, growth. But I think it's like you said, it's getting real personal with yourself and, showing yourself the viewpoint of, I can be better. I can be better. So let's
yeah.
No, I was going to transition. I want to talk about your book because I want to make sure that by now, watchers and listeners are going, okay, I get it. It's accountability, but let's talk about this book. What's the purpose of this book?
Okay,
and so I say the word purpose because I've already tagged, your subtitle in there.
Yeah. Okay. So the whole purpose of this book is to help people create some relationships that go to a much more meaningful, deeper, significant level that help them become the best that they become. And so one of the premises of this book is I can't become my best me unless I open myself up to you, for you to help me be my best, and unless I'm willing to help you be your best. I'll never be my best me unless I'm helping you also. And so it's a relationship. There's a lot of books and writings that talk about mastermind groups, and mastermind groups traditionally get together and discuss best practices in business. And they do cross into life, but it's all best practices. The idea behind the accountability circle is a small group of people that truly understand what it is that you value, what your purpose is, what your mission is. Because until we have that understanding about each other, I can't truly help you be your best you, and you can't help me be my best me. So what has to happen is first of all, I have to be willing to open up and share with you. I have to trust you. I have to trust that when you share something with me, that you're sharing it because you really care about me and you want me to be my best self. You're not saying something to make you look good. You're not saying something so you can feel good. You're there strictly for me, and you have to believe that I'm there strictly for you. When I share what my values are, specifically what my values are, and in my situation, my values are defined by integrity, respect, and significance. And I have detailed definitions of what those mean. When you understand those, if you're in my accountability circle, if I'm making a decision, you have the ability to go, Sam, I want to stop for a second. Are you sure that the decision that you're making is aligning with all of those values? Because I think you might be missing something. And now, wow, what a powerful moment. I am allowing you to speak into my life based on me having shared specifically what my values are, what my purpose is, what my mission is. And so that creates this accountability circle in this small group of people. And so in the book, I go into great detail in how to locate, discover the right people to do this with, how to set it up, the questions to ask, the conversations to have, and to help people understand what their values are, what their purpose is, their unique purpose, as stated in the service of others, and what their mission is. Because until you have that, you can't build an accountability circle.
It's literally a blueprint. You've created a blueprint for somebody.
Exactly. And that's the goal. I want them to be able to step this out. The people that are in my accountability circle have impacted my life in such a meaningful, deep way. They help me by far be my best self. I could not be on the right trajectory. And I say trajectory because I feel like I'm always working towards that. My goal each day is what can I do today to be better? How can I be a better author? How can I be a better speaker? How can I be a better husband? How can I be a better father? Whatever it is, because I make tons of mistakes. I make far more mistakes some days than the things that I do that are right. So, the goal is to get better. So I want a specific blueprint. I want to help people walk through this.
No. It's interesting. I think it's great leaders also understand the value of being a little vulnerable and embracing change and embracing this new information, because I think it's also important that we don't get too comfortable, because when we're too comfortable, we become dormant. We stay exactly where we are, and we don't look for ways to grow. And then when we are that person itself, again, you don't have to be the leader to fall into this understanding. You can be starting out in sales and learn a technique and then realize this is the only technique and this is exactly how I'm going to deliver my message, and I'm never going to change it. I'm never going to do anything differently. But I think what you're saying too, again, it's that understanding that self-discovery never ends. I'll do the same thing. I'll point to myself. We are all students of life. And if you understand that, and you even mentioned that, you get up every day and you just try to become better, there was a point in my life, and I know it very, very well, that I was very robotic in what I was doing, in my platform, in my presentations. And I stepped back and sat in the audience and observed so much what was going on around me that I'm like, I can't believe I'm watching this. This is the way I've been doing things. And I wasn't changing, and I wasn't open to change, and I wasn't open to new ideas, to be more accountable, to grow personally and professionally. And then I think when I started to sit in the audience of myself, and I started to realize that if I learn something new and if I add something new, my information, just starts to broaden. It's like blowing up a helium balloon that will never pop. It just gets bigger and stronger and more powerful.
Well, that's what life is about. When the interesting thing is that when you're trying to better yourself, when you're trying to be the best you can be, that growing, that stretching, um, boy, there's a lot of positive energy that comes through that. And when you surround yourself with others that are doing the same thing, then what happens is you're there to help each other and you grow
Hmm.
together. That's part of the accountability circle. And,
Yeah.
and in business, if you can, as a leader, if you can create an environment where people are trying to be their best because they see you trying to be your best, they see you willing to be transparent and admit your faults, um, and that you want to celebrate their strengths, um, then what happens is you create this environment where they want to do the same thing with the people around them, and so you create this
Yep.
auger, this culture that everyone supercharges everyone else. There's a reason why some organizations are doing incredibly well, even during the pandemic, and others aren't. And let me tell you something, it has nothing to do with their industry. It has nothing to do with the product or service. It's strictly based on the people and the way that they think and what they're and how they see the challenges in their life. Um, there's an ice cream parlor in St. Louis that a retail ice cream shop. Restaurants are struggling at best to keep their head above water. They had just recently opened up a new location right before the pandemic, I think. I mean, timing. Can you imagine that? And and while their visits to the restaurant are down, their sale of prepackaged ice cream is up 400%, and they've hired 10 new employees. Okay. That's not lucky. That's not being in the right place at the right time. It's it's based on leaders that are always looking to be better and
Right.
inspiring their people to want to be better, because you as a leader cannot come up with all the answers. Remember, I said growing to be our best self is always dependent upon the willingness to let others help us be our best self and our commitment to helping others be their best self. And so that's a collaborative relationship, whether it's in your personal life, whether it's in your business.
It's great information, Sam. I mean, you get me so excited about every time you put something together and deliver content. Sam's offering these virtual programs, virtual keynotes like myself, between his content of his books and his training programs and his courses. You always cease to amaze me, and it's always a pleasure to have you on the show. And I want to hear once the next book comes out, we'll have you back again. Um,
Awesome.
and I'll put all of Sam's information on the book available on Amazon. Remember, it's called The Accountability Circle. So you can Google it right now. You can Amazon it and you can download it if you want. Available on Kindle, I believe, as well, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and I'll put all of his information, more about him and his company, at rickykalmon.com. Sam, thanks for sharing today.
My pleasure, my friend. It's always great to be together. Thanks for honoring me. I really do appreciate it.
I appreciate you, man. Talk.